morning everybody, and welcome back to another video. Speak New Life Coaching here, and where we use our words to edify ourselves and others and encourage everybody who's out there listening. So as you know, I do these walk and talks, and I just come on here and I share a few little tidbits, as it were, or little life lessons and stuff that God may be showing me, or I may have experienced at some time in the past and what have you. So today, because I've been talking about just doing what God tells you to do, right? And I've used the example in the past of when I actually listened to God and the results of me listening. But I have to be honest, there has been way more. Let me just cross this road. There have been way more experiences of when I did not listen, right? And it saddens me to say that we have our God, who is fully trustworthy, speaks nothing but the truth, who we should be able to trust hands down without ever doubting. But yet, for whatever reason, we still doubt and we still stop the things that God wants to do in our lives, right? So I'm going to share in this video an example, a perfect example of how God was trying to get something to me, but I stopped him, right? So anyhow, it was just after COVID, probably, and it was a time when we was doing loads and loads of Zooms, and my church was on Zoom, and there was like a ladies' prayer meeting that we used to meet every Saturday morning. So I was on this Zoom with the ladies from my church and stuff. And then at the end of it, one of the ladies, she pointed me out and she said, I don't know what it is, but I just feel as though God is going to do something for you by tomorrow. And it's going to be amazing, right? It's going to be amazing. And so when I heard that, I was like, oh, that's exciting. But I was like, okay. So the next day was a Sunday, because our prayer meeting was on Saturday. And so I went to church on that Sunday, because this is when we was allowed to go back into the building and stuff. So I was in the church, and at some point, my pastor, he stood up and he started to call people out for certain things. And then he just said, look, I can't move on because I feel as though there's somebody here who knows that they have, you may not be doing it yet, but you know that you have a calling to speak to many, right? You have a calling to speak to many, if not thousands. And he said, if that is you, I need you to stand up, right? I need you to stand up. And instantly, even though my life looked nothing like this, like I wasn't doing YouTube, I hadn't even started doing my lives on Facebook. I was at the stage where I wasn't posting a picture. I wasn't showing up on social media whatsoever, right? This was like must have been 21, like middle of 2021. And he said, if that's you, stand up. And instantly my heart started to beat inside my chest, because I knew it was me. I just knew it was me, but something was preventing me from standing up. It's like my legs just wouldn't allow me to stand up, right? And so he was there talking, and he's like, look, if this is you, you need to stand up, because I feel like God wants to bless your ministry. He wants me to anoint you for your ministry, right? And so the whole time I just couldn't stand up. I don't know why. I was overthinking everything in my head. I was overthinking it. And so he waited for like a good 5 minutes, and nobody stood up, right? But this whole time I knew it was me. I knew he was talking to me. And eventually my friend's mum, who was sat just a few seats down from me, she turned to me and she said, Davina, is this you? Like, is this you? Like, she called me out. And then even then I looked at her and I looked away, and I dismissed what she was saying. And then I started to overthink, and I was like, well, I can't stand up now, because then he'll start to ask, well, why didn't I stand up when I first heard it? Why did I have to wait this whole amount of time? So I didn't move. I did not move, right? And then about a few minutes later, this one lady, she stood up over the other side, right? She stood up. And then he called her down, and he just said, look, right? This is the thing. I've been praying to God, because it's like I was in a situation where I didn't have that much money and I needed some money, right? And I've been praying to God about it. And then she stood up, and then he called her down. He said, come down. And then he said, anybody in the church who wants to give into this lady's ministry, I'm calling you to come down and bless her now. And then before I knew it, the whole church got up and started to lay money at this lady's feet, right? For her ministry, started to lay money at her feet. And then I looked at that and I was like, oh my gosh, that was meant to be mine. That was meant to be mine. God was trying to get something to me, right? And now the blessing that was meant to be mine, somebody else has now benefited from it because I didn't do a simple act of just standing up when I was called out. I overthought it. I talked myself out of it, and I didn't receive because of it, right? And so when I left church that day, she left with a bag full of money, and I went home still lacking. Not having what I should have had, not having what God desired for me to have, not because he didn't want me to have it, but because I didn't cooperate with his instruction. I didn't cooperate. I didn't come into agreement with what he was saying by doing the simple thing that he was asking me to do. And I'd like to say that was the only time that I missed it, but I'd be lying to you if I said that. I have missed it time and time again, right? But God is faithful, and he keeps bringing opportunities our way. So when I'm sharing these videos, I'm not just sharing them to be like, you just flippantly like, yeah, whatever he tells you to do, go do it, and blah, blah, blah. And if you do, you do. And if you don't, you don't. No, God is trying to get something into your hands. He's trying to get something before you. He's trying to enable you to see something that you haven't yet seen, understand something that you haven't yet understood, right? Because if you think about it, here is God, who is the most intentional being to exist, right? And he has taken his time, quote unquote, to speak to you and give you an instruction. And because you think it's a light instruction, you don't receive it. And then it's like the thing that he wants to give to you, he now can't get it to you because you haven't yet agreed. So this is why I keep saying, whatever he tells you to do that. We don't have to make sense of it. We don't have to understand where it's going or why. Just know that the most intentional being came and spoke to you and told you something. And then watch what happens when you follow through. And I believe this is how God wants us to live. This is how he wants us to walk. This is how we will go from glory to glory, testimony to testimony. Because this is who our God is. So just to let you know, you're not the only one out there that has missed it, in quotation marks. But know that God is faithful. And next time you feel a prompting or a leading, just go ahead and do it. And when you do it, come back here and share the outcome, because we would love to hear your testimony. Anyway, like I said on yesterday's video, if you need help understanding or just even voicing out and what to do for your next step if you're not sure, then please go to my website, book a discovery call, and it's amazing what can happen when you just speak something out with somebody, how you begin to get clarity. But love you all, and I will see you in the next video. All right, bye-bye.